Straight ahead on CCX News, the owner of a Maple Grove Japanese steakhouse charged in a sex trafficking sting. Plus, bus fares are going up. The greatest impact could be on those who have the most trouble getting around. And later, a garden inspired by Star Trek. We boldly go where no gardener has gone before. CCX News starts right now. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. Starting this fall, anyone in the Twin Cities using public transportation will have to pay a little more for a ride.
Wednesday night, the Metropolitan Council passed a 25-cent fare increase for bus and rail service. As Delane Cleveland reports, the fare hike was approved to help offset rising costs and a massive budget deficit.
Every day, thousands of people use public transportation to get them from point A to point B. In 2016, Metro Transit provided 82.4 million rides. One of those frequent riders is Chris Buell, who's been in a wheelchair since age 16. At least 3 times a week, this Brooklyn Park resident rolls out of his apartment and heads down to the first floor, where Metro Mobility picks him up at the front door.
I use Metro Mobility a lot to get around town, to get to appointments, to get to activities.
It's a service that offers round-trip rides for roughly $6 to $8, depending on the time of day he travels.
It's door-through-door service, which is really important for me because I have trouble with doors, and just getting somewhere is kind of the first step. I still need to get into the buildings.
Seniors and people with disabilities depend on the service, but it's not cheap. Metro Mobility rides will go up an extra 50 cents.
Folks really depend on it, but it's really expensive. So the public subsidy is like $24 a ride.
Katie Rodriguez is a member of the Metropolitan Council. She says the growing need of Metro Mobility, combined with the fact that there hasn't been a fare increase in 9 years, has contributed to a budget deficit.
We pretty much go off the fiscal cliff in 2 years, and the deficit will be $110 million projected.
To help close that deficit, the Met Council voted to increase transit fares effective October 1st.
It was a really tough vote. I think it was the right vote, but it was a really tough vote.
Tough because it means that riders will have to pay more out of pocket.
I'm interested to see if there's any change.
Buell is fine with the fare increase,
Yep.
but he hopes the increased fees will help improve Metro Mobility.
A little more punctual pickups, that sort of thing, shorter rides.
That's a promise the Met Council can't make, but at least for now, they can say that Buell's services won't face any cuts. In Brooklyn Park, Delane Cleveland, CCX News.
The fare increase will amount to about $7 million in additional funding each year. Met Council officials hope to work with the state legislature to create a dedicated source for transit funding.
The owner of a Maple Grove Japanese steakhouse is accused of running an Asian sex trafficking operation. Zaxi Taxing is charged with 2 counts of engaging in sex trafficking. Authorities initially caught on to Taxing through advertisements placed on Backpage.com. They eventually tracked him down through further investigation and surveillance. The criminal complaint says one of the women victims came from China and was flown in from New York. Taxing is the owner of Sumo Japanese Sushi Steakhouse, located on Main Street in Maple Grove. The restaurant opened last December. A sign on the door says it's no longer able to serve alcohol due to code violations.
A Hennepin County program to better connect police officers with their communities is expanding into Crystal. Cameron Krause-Ferris is the new community liaison for the Crystal Police Department through the Joint Community Police Partnership. Hennepin County started funding the program with Brooklyn Park and Brooklyn Center back in 2005. The community liaison will work with immigrant and refugee populations in Crystal to make sure that their voices are heard in the police department. It's a new position Crystal Police worked for months to get.
We definitely would love to see crime rates lowered. That's a goal of the program, but also to help members of these communities in particular feel comfortable coming to the police when they do have crime, when they are victims of crime and when they experience that, to make sure that the police are able to serve everyone in the community equally.
Crystal also plans to start a multicultural advisory committee to advise police.
Last weekend, wet conditions postponed road paving work on southbound Highway 169. There shouldn't be that problem this weekend, so you know what that means. Southbound Highway 169 will be closed between Highway 55 in Golden Valley and Highway 7 in Hopkins. The closure starts at 7 p.m. Friday and goes until 5 a.m. Monday. The suggested detour is Highway 55 west to Interstate 494 south.
No decisions have been made yet, but Plymouth is taking another look at the merits of imposing a lodging tax and creating a Convention and Visitors Bureau. Plymouth has 7 hotels with just under 1,000 rooms total, and more are coming. At least 2 hotels with several hundred more rooms are planned at the vacant Four Seasons Mall site. Officials say 2 others have an interest. A Convention and Visitors Bureau could help generate tourism and support economic development. But the city is talking with outside consultants to see if it'll be worthwhile.
We see people coming to town for different reasons, and does that mean we can attract more? We believe that it does. We think that the additional hotels are an indication of that, most likely. And so we want to drill that down a little bit more and talk about our audience. Who could they be? Who are they now? How can we grow that?
The next step may be a needs analysis. If the proposal is approved, it could mean a 3% tax on hotel rooms in the city, something 110 other Minnesota cities currently have. Hennepin County's new $20 million library in Brooklyn Park is getting high marks. Finance and Commerce newspaper named it one of the top projects of 2016. The library is inspired by world cultures. Its design includes a butterfly roofline and a wall of windows that bring in natural light but are glazed to minimize the summer heat. When the Botno light rail is complete, there will be a stop right outside the library.
Summer is a time for vacations and time at the lake for a lot of people, but a church in Maple Grove says it's a time to volunteer as well. Maple Grove Covenant Church is hosting a mobile food pack for Feed My Starving Children this week. They hope to pack 100,000 meals by Friday afternoon that'll get sent to Africa. Big mobile food packs seldom happen in the summer months because of vacations, but this church hopes to fill all the volunteer slots to meet their goal and fight hunger.
Probably in the words of Steve Jobs, he built Apple to make a dent in the world. And for us to pack 100,000 meals, it's a small dent, it's a little dent, but it's a dent. And I think for people to walk away knowing they made a difference.
There are still open shifts on Friday from 10 to noon and from 1 to 3. And if you'd like to volunteer or even donate money to help pay for the meals to be shipped, just stop by Maple Grove Covenant Church, which is just off Maple Grove Parkway. Still ahead on CCX News, how many of you are fans of Star Trek? We'll show you a garden inspired by the sci-fi adventure.
And plus, pro fisherman Terry Tuma has some tips for hauling in big northerns. That's coming up in sports.
But first, a beautiful forecast. Friday and Saturday, pretty close to perfect.
Robbinsdale residents have bikes and pets prepped and ready to go. Resident Patty Paulson turned her bicycle into an art bike in the form of a fish. It's one of several that will roll in the annual Pet and Wheel Parade tonight. The parade begins at City Hall at 6:30, that's this Thursday evening, and goes to Sanborn Park, where the Robbinsdale City Band will play for bike riders and pet owners. A crystal gardener is going boldly where no man has gone before, creating an out-of-this-world landscape with creativity and a little bit of spunk.
Now, reporter Sonia Goins goes in the garden now to show us more.
The Star Trek Enterprise has landed right in the middle of Crystal.
This is Starfleet, the United Federation of Plants. Ba-dum-bum.
Nancy LaRoche has taken her love for the intergalactic television series and transformed it into a whimsical garden.
Gardening is the ultimate escapism, and then so is Star Trek. So why not combine a little of both?
The Crystal City Council member became a Trekkie when she was in college,
Live long and prosper.
watching her favorite reruns and going to Star Trek conventions.
I just fell in love with the series. It's campy, but the storylines were pretty good.
She even has William Shatner's autograph.
He had a black Sharpie marker, and he said, you know, I think I'm going to take out the gold marker for this.
Her favorite Star Trek characters take command of the Garden Fleet.
Captain Kirk and this Gorn character were transported to a planet to fight to the death.
At times, some aliens have invaded the gnomes.
And they were box elderbug babies. And they were just covering, they were swarming all over that. They really liked the gnomes for whatever reason.
Salvia and other perennials add color to the space.
Which is a great pollinator. It's a good perennial. You'll see the bees are quite happy orbiting around this little plant.
Red lava rocks mimic the Vulcan planet, while hostas honor the Trekkie crew.
In the back is Captain Kirk. The one up towards the front is Enterprise.
Everywhere you turn, you can find traces of the USS Enterprise.
I planted some Scotch moss in honor of Scotty.
Nancy says gardening is therapeutic, and it's how she unwinds after a busy day at City Hall.
Most gardens are serious. You know, people take them very seriously, and I do too. It's also a tribute to Star Trek, but it's also a tribute to humor and life and having fun.
In Crystal,
Beam me up, Scotty.
Sonia Goins, CCX News.
There they go. You know, she had the Starfleet emblem right
She's
there.
all in.
You bet. Still ahead, one more reason to scream for ice cream.
But first, get set for the big Crystal Frolics softball tournament. Jake Wilcox is in next with sports.
I'm Jay Wilcox with sports. Summer leagues are wrapping up as we near the start of August. In boys lacrosse, Maple Grove facing off with Moundsview in the playoff semifinals of the league hosted by Osseo Park Center. Moundsview strikes first as Chris Drews takes the pass and rifles the high shot in for a 1-0 lead. Up 2-0, Liam Gallagher takes the pass in close but gives it to Mateo Rosendahl for an even better look. Moundsview is up 3-0 after one quarter. Second quarter, and long stick midi Drew Heisler makes a nice effort for Maple Grove to beat the defenders and score. The top-seeded Crimson pull within 3-1, but they're down 6-1 at the half. Nice passing here for Moundsview as James Mago sets up Gallagher cutting from behind the net for a goal that makes it 7-1 Mustangs. Mago lines up a shot and gets a lot of velocity on it as Moundsview rolls to a 13-1 win. They went on to beat Irondale 8-5 in the championship game. One of the metro area's best slow-pitch softball tournaments is the Crystal Frolics Tourney. I talked with tournament director Jim Wida about this year's event.
This year we have 74 teams. We have a men's gold, a men's silver, and a men's bronze division. We also have a co-ed 11-inch, 12-inch division. So they're all going to be playing softball this weekend up here at Becker Park, Welcome, and around the city of Crystal.
What are the players and the teams like about your tournament? What brings them back year after year, would you say?
I think the competition. I think people play in their tournaments throughout the year. They do well, but they use the Frolics as somewhat of a yardstick on how they're doing. Also, our payouts that we do give for travel expenses are something that they look forward to. So when they move on to a national or a state tournament, they have money to kind of pay for rooms and airfares and things like that. I think that's an attractive thing, but the competitiveness is there because they're very, very good teams wanting to play ball.
Obviously you use a number of fields, but the two main fields here at Becker, I think, give it such great visibility too, being in the middle of everything here at Frolics. Is that something the players enjoy, just being a part of the whole Frolics experience?
Well, Lynn Haney and the Crystal Frolics Committee have put together wonderful events. Softball is definitely a big part of it, and Crystal is a grand old lady as far, and Becker Park actually in Crystal is a grand old lady as far as softball fields go.
An all-star game and home run derby kicks off the Frolics Thursday night. Tournament play starts on Friday. Well, finding big northern pike on Minnesota lakes in late July is not unusual. Terry Tuma tells us where to look for them in this week's CCX Fishing Tip.
Right now, when the water temperature is 78 to 82 degrees, is an excellent time to fish for big northern pike. We're talking monster pike. And by the way, these big pike are in many bodies of water, even some of our smaller lakes, some great places to fish when you have those water temperatures. Greenweed flats, 12-foot flats, are extremely productive. You're going to see sparsely located cabbage and coontail. And what you want to do then is cast spinner baits. Generally speaking, the orange blacks are good. The chartreuse white ones are good. Greens are also very, very productive. And cast those lures out into those flats. And when you get sort of hung up, if you will, on one of those stems of that cabbage or coontail, just take your rod and pop it back. That change in speed, change in direction will trigger those fish. Another great way to catch these fish, if you got a real tough bite going, is using a bobber system. And then with a sucker minnow. The other is using a jigging piece of plastic, and the other then is using a live bait rig, but using one with sort of a steel leader, if you will, a real thin steel leader, and then trolling with a sucker with your electric trolling motor right up along the edge of the weeds. A great way. Take this opportunity to catch some of those big monster northern pike, but be sure to release some of those big fish. Be sure to tune in next week for another tip.
Thanks, Terry, and that's all for sports. Mike and Alex, back to you.
All right, thanks a lot, Jay. Up next, where did the name Crystal Frolics come from? We will have the answer.
Plus, a really cool treat in Robbinsdale. We'll be right back. If you need an excuse to go get ice cream, well, today you had a good one. It is Miracle Treat Day Thursday at Dairy Queen, including the DQ in Robbinsdale. The store is giving part of the proceeds of every Blizzard sold today to a Children's Miracle Network hospital.
Who doesn't like to give back? You know, we got people that come here and get ice cream all the time. Today's especially a busier day. People like to come in and help out the hospital just as much as we do.
For more than 10 years, DQ has celebrated Miracle Treat Day and raised more than $4 million. Finally, the Crystal Frolics gets underway tonight, but here's a question. Did you ever wonder where the name of the festival came from?
But it was the Vulcan Frolics, and then it went to the Firemen's, so then it was the Firemen's Frolics. And then it just naturally rotated and went to Crystal Frolics.
This is the biggest fundraiser of the year for many Crystal area civic organizations which operate the food booths. Music and sports help kick off the Crystal Frolics Festival. The Bill Concar Polka Band takes the stage at 6 p.m. and the men's softball tournament also gets started this evening. 2017 Crystal Frolics buttons are on sale at local retailers, and event organizers say the Frolics are a way to get the whole community out and bring everyone together.
After all, we're in Crystal.
Yeah.
And we like to frolic.
For the entire Frolic schedule and more information on where to find Crystal Frolics buttons, you can go to crystalfrolics.org. A lot of fun, beautiful weather forecast.
Yeah, ought to be great this weekend. And
yes.
Again, it does start 6 o'clock Thursday night.
Runs through Sunday.
Very good.
That's all the news for us. Thanks so much for joining us.
And we'll see you back here again Friday, starting at 4.